Welcome to this edition of Wanakee Public Radio. I'm Keaton Gore.
And I'm Jonah Sheastel.
And today we will be discussing the 1998 movie The Truman Show. The Truman Show is centered on the life of Truman Burbank, a man whose entire life is fabricated and recorded for a reality TV show that streams 24/7 for its viewers. People watched every milestone of Truman's life, from his first steps to his marriage. Truman lives within a large man-made dome, which is the set of the show. It is built in such a way as to prevent him from realizing that the world that he lives in is fake. However, after a string of events, Truman begins to notice some oddities in his life.
As Truman begins to catch on to the falseness within his life, the show's director is interviewed in the production center on the moon. When Christof is asked why it has taken Truman so long to even begin to discover that something is off in his life, Christof replies with a profound statement.
Why do you think that Truman has never come close to discovering the true nature of his world until now?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, so the viewer calls in and asks Christof why Truman has never gotten close to discovering that his world is not real. And Christof responds that, we accept the reality of the world in which we are presented. The world that Truman lives in is made to be perfect for him. A world that holds him in with its charm and easy living, and keeps him from leaving by exploiting his fears. Truman has lived in his world, Sea Haven, for all of his conscious life. He has never known the real world, so he does not know that he's missing anything. He has accepted that Sea Haven, no matter how cheesy at times, is real, and that there's no reason to ever leave, because he's happy.
Exactly. This reality that Truman has come to accept draws a strong parallel to the reality of the shadows in Plato's allegory of the cave. Plato sets this allegory, like many of his allegories within the Republic, as a conversation between his mentor Socrates and his brother Glaucon. The conversation goes like this. Behold, human beings living in an underground den, which has a mouth open towards the light, and reaching all along the den, here they have been from their childhood, and have their legs and necks chained, so that they cannot move, and can only see before them, being prevented by the chains from turning around their heads. Above and behind them is a fire, is blazing at a distance, and between the fire and the prisoners there is a raised way, and you will see, if you look, a low wall built along the way, like the screen which marionette players have in front of them, over which they show the puppets.
You have shown me a strange image, and they are strange prisoners.
They see only their own shadows, or the shadows of one another, which the fire throws on the opposite wall of the cave.
True, he said. How could they see anything but the shadows if they are never allowed to move their heads?
And if they are able to converse with one another, would they not suppose that they were naming what was actually before them?
Very true.
To them, I said, the truth would be literally nothing but the shadows of the images.
That is certain.
And now look again and see what will naturally follow it. The prisoners are released and disabused of their error. Conceive someone saying to him that what he saw before was an illusion, but that now, when he is approaching nearer to being, and his eyes turn towards more real existence, he has a clearer vision. What will be his reply?
Within this dialogue, Plato surmises, and if they could talk to one another, don't you think they'd suppose that the names they used to apply to the things that they see passing before them? This is exactly what we see in Truman's life within the show.
Exactly. Every day Truman sees the shadows of his great puppeteer, Christof, and supposes that these shadows are the truth because he has only been exposed to the shadows.
And as Truman realizes his world is fake, he has the same crisis as the prisoners in the cave when he hits the end of his world. Literally. We see this crisis in his conversation with Christof.
Listen to me, Truman. There's no more truth out there than there is in the world I created for you. Same lies, the same deceit. But in my world, you have nothing to fear.
But this affliction does not only affect fictional reality TV stars or prisoners in hypothetical prisons. In everyday life, we see an acceptance of that reality with which we are presented, until those pivotal moments which challenge the truth of our experiences.
Philosophers have surmised this for centuries. Descartes, in his work Meditations, theorized that there exists some evil genius who crafts a great deception for us all through our beliefs and experiences.
Now, we don't all have some physical manifestation of this evil genius, as Truman has in Christoph, but we all have ourselves, and that is enough to pull the mask of deception over our faces. How we see the world around us differs from everyone else's world based on our beliefs and experiences.
We see an example of this in the life of Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha was a prince who grew up in complete comfort of his palace, never wishing to leave because there was always entertainment and happiness. This heavenly lifestyle continued until one day he grew curious of what went on outside of the palace walls. One by one he was introduced to old age, sickness, and then death. Upon experiencing these things, he began his journey towards enlightenment, and is more commonly known today as Buddha.
Not all of our changes are as drastic as going from a shielded prince to an enlightened man responsible for the birth of one of the most influential philosophies the world has known, but still these changes occur in our everyday lives.
We see the effect of our beliefs in almost every situation. Whenever an event occurs and there is some doubt in what occurred, we fill the hole with our experience.
It becomes evident even in the simplest of situations. If you were to see a broken glass on the floor and two young boys looking guilty nearby with a ball, what would you assume happened?
Well, obviously, I'd assume that the boys broke the glass playing with the ball.
Exactly. Without knowing anything that went on, you would assume that outcome just because of your past experiences. The life that you've led presents a reality to you, and you accept that reality that we are presented with, just as Christoph tells us.
Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. Thanks for tuning in to WPR, and we'll see you next week when we talk about Henry David Thoreau and whether or not civil disobedience really is a duty.